Fantasy Football Card Quest, the podcast, episode number 2. He's Andy, I'm Carter, and look, this is the prime time selling season. The hype, Andy, is starting to get up. We're going to talk about the Mac Jones thing and what you should do with the rookie quarterback class of 5, Andy. 5 potential franchise star quarterbacks. And here's the funny thing, Andy, is none of them, and I mean none of them, have had a bad preseason. Okay, now none of them have just been immaculate, but not only those 5, Kellen Mond is also very interesting in Minnesota. So, and we're going to get into all that today, but right now we want everyone to focus on what they could potentially sell, because Andy, the hype right now is at an all-time high.
Very true, man. Very true. Hype is at an all-time high. We saw last year at this time, football cards were flying off the shelf left and right. Guys, going in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, even 6th rounds of your fantasy drafts. Even guys going in the 9th and 10th rounds of your fantasy draft last year considered sleepers. We're talking wide receivers, 3rd and 4th string wide receivers were picking up value in their rookie cards, and they were selling really well up into the first game of the regular season, the first Thursday night game.
So this is where it gets really fascinating. So it obviously depends on when you're listening to this. I want to hammer home a point so much that I put on a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform today, Andy. A Jacksonville Jaguars uniform. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you see that I have my lone Jaguars uniform, my Leonard Fournette uniform, which, by the way, you have my Leonard Fournette RPA PSA 10 sitting in your household right now. But the reason why I'm wearing this uniform is to hammer home the point, the difference between a professional uniform and a college uniform card. Now, we talked about this in episode 1, and a lot of you might already know this, but this is why it's important to actually show you this, because I'm actually wearing a Leonard Fournette LSU shirt underneath it. Now, me as an LSU fan, I like the LSU uniform card from Leonard Fournette, and you could be a Clemson fan and a Trevor Lawrence fan, but understand that the pro uniform cards have more value, and there are a few that are released right now, but we've yet to hit Donruss. We've yet to hit Mosaic, and of course, the big daddy of them all, Prism, coming here in a few months. So this is why, Andy, we both agree that the time to sell your college uniform cards are now, right now.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but around here we call him Lombardi Lenny.
Lombardi. But that's the thing. You've got to get rid of them. So if you're holding your Justin Fields, Ohio State Prism cracked ice card right now, or this is just a good rule of thumb for the upcoming years, college uniform cards. Now, once again, I wish it was the opposite. And Andy, you kind of feel the same way, even though you're mostly an NFL guy. But I'm doing a bunch of 99-cent auctions. In fact, I pulled a Trevor Lawrence optic low Clemson card, and a few weeks ago, Andy, the auction ended at $80. $80. Wow. And I held on to it. I finally sold it. And I want you just to give it a guess what the final number was on my Trevor Lawrence optic Clemson rookie card.
This was an optic hollow?
Optic hollow, optic silver. Give it a guess.
Optic silver prison. I'm going to go close to $100.
So you see, this is a thing. You would think that the price actually would go up, right? But no, it went down. If I would have sold it a few weeks ago, of course, I would have gotten 80. I got 45.
45. So it's already starting to go down.
It's already going down. And part of that is just due to more college cards, of course, being ripped. That's the Contenders product. But this is also very key. His college uniform card went down, even though the hype went up. So overall, Andy, with your price analysis, And you look at this stuff every day. I look at it as
Mhm.
well. Do you think overall that prices are going back up across the NFL right now?
Across the NFL, yes. I've seen prices going up on veteran players. I'll give you a prime example. Um, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. I sold a PSA 8.5 for triple what I paid for it 3 4 months ago,
Really?
over the weekend. And a PSA 8.5 is basically comparable to a raw card, you know. And
Yeah.
so I was impressed for that. Guess how much? Would you take a guess at how much that sold for? It was a buy it now.
Oh, you got to buy it now as well. That's very
Yeah,
interesting. I'm
yeah.
guessing at 8.5 PSA rookie. I would guess probably 120, maybe.
120. Well, not quite as much. It was around $65.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I, s-
what
I
no?
only paid $20 for that card a few months ago.
And that's why you're the fantasy football card quest, man. And it's wild though because you don't think of it that way. So for those that don't know, that was Andy getting a Sam Darnold rookie card. So he's
Hmm.
going to be in his Carolina, or excuse me, in his New York Jets
Yep.
uniform.
Base Prism.
Not even his Carolina Panthers uniform, but because it was a rookie card, the price, of course, went up closer to the season. So do the same thing here with Trevor Lawrence, okay?
Yep.
And this was Trevor Lawrence, who has 10 times more hype that Sam Darnold has ever had in his career. And you see that his college uniform card, you would think as the hype went up, the price went up, Andy, but the opposite is happening. And that's why I still believe, even if you think Trevor Lawrence is going to turn out to be great, or any of the other four rookies, or if you think Jamar Chase is the next Jerry Rice, once again, I would prefer Jamar Chase card in an LSU uniform, but that's not what the public is going to feel like. So we do
Yeah.
want people to understand that your college uniform cards, sell them now. Put it eBay 99 cents, or try and sell them on Twitter, Instagram, see what you can get. And then that money can go towards pro uniform cards. So we want that to be the emphasis. And obviously, the quicker you do it, the better. I wish I would have done what I knew I should have done weeks ago, as far as that is concerned. But because we talked about it so much in the last episode, Andy, I want to talk about the quarterback that I think a lot of people are buying right now, and that's obviously Justin Herbert. It's interesting because a few videos about price analysis with Justin Herbert. Chris, the baseball card investor, did a price analysis of Justin Herbert versus Brett Favre. And then he just listed off every single parallel of Justin Herbert rookie cards that are out there. And I believe there was anywhere from 25 to 40 different rookie parallels, whereas Brett Favre pop counts are way lower and there's not as many, rookie parallel cards. It's very interesting, Andy, because that seems to be the sexy thing now, to compare the hot shot star versus the legend. Where do you stand on that, and how people should look into selling and or holding and investing big time quarterbacks for the long term?
That's a very interesting comparison because I bet that if you were to compare Justin Herbert's base Prism rookie card to Brett Favre's base Upper Deck rookie card at the time, that Brett Favre may have a higher, it probably most likely has a higher print run because that was in the prime of the junk wax overprinting era. But Brett Favre does not have all the parallels. And I bet you those 35, 40 parallels were just from one set, one Panini product of Justin Herbert. Because if you were to go to like comc.com and type in Justin Herbert and just filter out his rookie cards, he has approximately 250 different rookie cards, you know? So the amount of different choices for one player today is absolutely incredible compared to the 90s, early 90s, and then even going back, they only had ever one and sometimes two different photo variations, you know? So that's a really tough comparison to draw.
Yeah. And that's where this is very important for new card collectors. And I learned this the hard way. For those that are just now jumping back in the hobby, and for the more experienced collectors, understand year by year differences and print runs
Mm.
and variations. It is not equal. Okay. Basically, I don't know if you agree with this or not, Andy, but the the older the year, the more rare and lower print run of key rookie cards, and not necessarily print run, but PSA 10 pop counts, right? Would you agree with that? That, uh, obviously 2014, 2015, 2016, as the years go up, the the print run also goes up. It's not print run, but the PSA 10 pop count goes up. Is that right?
That is true. That is true because card manufacturing technology has progressed over the years, the actually, if you look at the data from PSA of the rate at which cards get nines and tens, the percentage gets higher and higher as you get closer to 2021 here. And
Wow.
I had a good friend, David Hunter, in our community that actually extracted the data from PSA looking at grades of 5 to 10s, because nobody's really investing in lower than a 5 unless you're going back to like 40s, 50s, maybe before that, even where cards were
Right.
very rare. So he looked at all the 5s to 10s going back to 1988 to now, and the rate at which raw cards got a 9 or a 10 got a little bit higher to where starting around 2012 to 2014, the rate was about 90% for raw cards to get at least a 9 or a 10 from PSA.
God. And you sent me that data, and I honestly was floored. And you also got to factor this in as well, that with the changes in submission times, and we're going to dive deeper into slabs and grading in just a second. But it is interesting that the general consensus is that PSA is going to start grading tougher. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
was listening to Slab Talk recently, and they had Cajun Cardboard on there, one of my favorite basketball card collectors out there. And even he is a sharp when it comes to PSA grading. He said in that podcast that getting tens is just more difficult now. So you could see a change in gem rates upcoming as well, because you see some ridiculous things on Twitter where people resubmit cards and they all come back tens. There was an example of someone who resubmitted 10 different Zion cards, and all 10 of them came back as tens. So the grading processes upcoming are also going to change. Now, once
Yeah.
again, if you are new, there's obviously a big difference in raw cards and graded cards. But ultimately, Andy, I know you focus mostly on raw, but now you're starting to get more into grading and grading analysis. It is so fascinating looking at pop counts. And this would be my next question for you, Andy. Obviously, most of the cards behind you are graded, but what people don't see is most of the cards that you have stashed away are not. So
Mm-hmm.
what is your logic behind grading right now? Obviously, we're waiting to see what PSA is exactly going to do. Are they going to lower their prices again? What about Beckett? What about CSG? What about look at all that, baby? Ready for another sub. Um, what are your thoughts on that right now? Because some people are deciding whether or not should I just sell these cards now and flip them on eBay, or should I wait to see what I could do as far as grading is concerned?
Well, I like buying raw football cards because of the at least the rate at which raw cards get a 9, right? And we know that 10 is going to ultimately increase the value the most. You're probably going to 5x the value of that raw card on average from what I've seen. But there's a lot of value in raw cards because a 9 is still going to 2 maybe 3x the value of that card depending on the scarcity of the card and the current career status of the player. So I always have to take all the conditions of the card into consideration. When I buy the raw card from eBay, I'm going to get the lighting right, hold it so that it's good light, but there's not a reflection on the card. And I'm looking at the corners, making sure they're sharp. I'm looking to make sure the color is constant all the way to the edge and there's no fraying or color distortion at the edge, making sure those edges are sharp. And then I'm looking at the surface. That's a big one. That's the big difference between nines and tens is the surface, because there's so many little tiny dimples that are created now. Especially Panini is notorious for this, like in the select product of all these, or Mosaic too, of having these little dimples that you can see when you look up really close, either if you scan your card in or if you just look at it really close at an angle and let the light kind of shine off of it, and you can see little tiny surface imperfections or print lines, and that's going to hold your card back from getting a 10, in which case you just want to sell it raw, because most people,
Right.
like, I'm not trying to buy cards with dimples or print lines off of eBay, but I do it. I do it fairly often because I can't really see that online. It's hard to tell.
And I've seen this with the rated rookie products with the football. Lots of these little BB gun bullet holes in the cards, and I'm like, what is going on? Does Panini are they testing the strength of these cards with little baby BB guns? I don't know. It's kind of weird. So yeah, when you're buying a raw card, make sure you look at all of that. Look for those edges. See if there's any whites on the corners, and that's the thing. When you buy a slab, oftentimes that slab grade is the slab grade. But even that is starting to come into question for, a lot of people because, obviously gym rates have changed over the years, like we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
it is very fascinating.
And one last thing is the centering. And PSA is notorious for allowing cards that are off center, either left to right or top to bottom, to be a 10, because they would have perfect corners, perfect edges, and a perfect surface. If it's a little bit off center, they've been notorious to allow that card a 10, whereas BGS is never going to allow that card to be a 10. And there's actually very, very few BGS 10 black label cards. And if you do find one, those are going to be worth almost twice as much as a PSA 10. And then SGC does the same thing. They have their SGC 10 pristine, and they have their SGC 10 gem mint, like PSA does. And they are very strict on centering. They're also using a software application to assist them to see down to a finite little millimeter how good the centering is. And I think PSA is trying to get there. That's why they acquired that company Gemimint, and they're trying to implement some of those AI assisted grading techniques to make their grading process even more strict. Which, you're right, there's going to be fewer and fewer 10s because of this.
And centering is what I've learned to be the number one grade when it comes to BGS upgrades. Then we're not going to dive too deep into Beckett subgrades today because that's very advanced. I actually just learned about which subgrades are better, but from what I learned, BG 9.5s, the ones with 10 centering, because of what you said, are oftentimes the ones that are the most valuable. And that's the key thing. Now, if you don't understand what centering actually means, feel free to drop a comment, let us know, and we'll go through a tutorial. I think it's very important to understand how to understand centering on cards. And this is something that I have to get better at, Andy, is evaluating when I actually buy raw cards, looking at the card, looking like at all those different things that you shared as far as the photos are concerned. And I also think this is very important. The higher the price of the raw card you're going to buy, the more you should probably ask questions about that said card.
Mm-hmm.
See another photo, whatever. Now, if it's like a 99-cent card, don't do that. Like, just don't. But
Yeah.
don't ask too many questions. But if and this is why, part of me, because I'm not good at card evaluations, Andy, I don't buy raw cards for over $100 or over $200 or whatever, because those photos can be a little misleading.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some tips as far as, from your perspective? I think even veteran collectors would be interested in knowing, as far as buying, let's say if you want to buy for $1, what are some things people should be looking for? What are some techniques people can use outside of course, magnifying with the little eBay cursor thing?
Well, definitely asking for photos of the card outside of a top loader or a penny sleeve, because those top loaders and penny sleeves get scratched up and they hold little pieces of lint and stuff so easily, and it's so hard to discern between what's a speck of lint or a scratch on the top loader or penny sleeve versus the card. And then you can gauge, like, if the seller doesn't respond to you, then it's like, maybe you should stay away from that,
Right.
but if they respond, they're like, "Oh yeah, here you go." They send you all kinds of pictures. You can see they're taking good care of the card. They're putting it on a little microfiber cloth. It's still in the same exact condition. There's not fingerprints, there's not scratches and stuff on it. That makes me feel a lot better whenever I'm buying some of these 50, 60, even $100 plus raw cards that I've bought.
So now we get into grading options. So the first takeaway from today's episode, before we get into grading, I do think right now, I really do feel this way, leading up towards the season. If you're determining whether or not you should get, let's say, a base Justin Herbert or a base Joe Burrow or just a base rookie card of anyone right now, if you're determining whether or not you should get that card graded or not, obviously that's always going to be up to your decision. What do you want to do? Do you want to collect it? Do you want to flip it? Do you want to invest it? If you're sitting right now, and I'm going to get your opinion on this because you are far more experienced as far as investing, and you do the star stock, you do the ComCs, you do all of that. I do think, once again, there is value of just selling the raw card now. Okay. The hype is at an all-time high. You don't know what's going to happen this season. You don't know what's going to happen to card prices right now. Whereas if you send the card in to get graded, now once again, PSA $200, I don't think a lot of people are super expressing right now. I do think if you were on the fence, whether or not you wanted to get a card graded or not, I would just sell the card raw right now. And with that money, you could reinvest later in the year because, Andy, in about a month or so, when the season starts, guess what? The prices are going to go back down, right?
Very true. Yeah, last year prices went down on a lot of guys that weren't playing at an MVP level or weren't winning games or were on teams that weren't winning games. I mean, you had guys that were playing lights out, but they weren't on a winning team. I mean, you could look at T. Higgins, for example, on Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, playing lights out with Joe Burrow, but because they weren't winning games, they weren't making a playoff run, those values were still going down. It was pretty
Exactly.
incredible to watch. And like Deshaun Watson last year, before all this scandal stuff last year, he was playing lights out, man, lights out every week, and it was incredible. But his prices were going down. And I was like, well, I'm gonna buy, and I remember buying optic PSA nines for $50 of Deshaun Watson in
Deshaun?
yeah, at the end of October last year. And I remember sending that to one of my fantasy buddies, and he's like, "Where, what's going on?" He was blown away. And sure enough, once the season ended and it consolidated down to the playoffs, but at the same time, fantasy seasons were over and people were reflecting on who was actually good that season, his values went back up. And I doubled my money on those Deshaun Watson PSA 9s in January.
And I actually made a mistake. And this will lead to our next point right here. I got greedy. You don't get too greedy in this hobby, okay? Don't get too set on a price. If you can get a profit, take it now. And I know a lot of people fear this, right? Because obviously, one of the biggest examples was the Giannis logo, man, that the guy sold for like $3,000. And of course, it went for 1.8 recently, 1.8 million. The Patrick Mahomes card, one of one, sold at the National for 4.3 million. And the guy who sold it for $7,000 a year or two ago was expressing regret. In those instances, those were one of one cards. Okay. You should probably hold on to one of ones because of that potential. But I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, okay, I want to hold on for the long term because this Justin Herbert card, where there's a thousands and millions of base cards are out there, more often than not, your card is not going to be as rare as you think it is. And it's not going to go up as high as you think it is. And last season, Andy, I went on your show, and this actually just clicked in my mind again. The first time I ever did a live stream with you, I said that the guy that's going to have the biggest breakout wide receiver season was Calvin Ridley. I said it on the show. I said, you should be drafting Calvin Ridley right now. And guess what? I was right. And I bought a bunch of his cards. And you know what I did? 2 weeks into the season, I listed them and I was getting offers on them. And I said, no, I'm holding for the long term. And I regret it. I regret it. I should have, let me just put it this way. I should have just taken the offers at the time. But I didn't. And I regret that, because guess what? I didn't know that the prices were going to go down a month after the season. And it's because, Andy, of what we started today's show. The hype is at an all-time high right now. And understand, a lot of that money, guess what happens a month from now? Well, we're start talking about the NBA and the hype season leading up to the NBA. So a lot of the NBA money, a lot of people are starting to get into the NBA then. And baseball's ending and all those different things. So understand that the market a month from now is going to be completely different than what it is right now.
Yeah, very true. It becomes very fast paced, and cards, especially if you're buying off of eBay, you have to buy the card. Takes about a week to get the card. Then you have to examine it, and so that's a couple week process before you could potentially flip a card from eBay minimum, right? So you're not. I mean, especially like backup running backs, like, Saquon goes down, Wayne Gallman comes in, last year and plays good for a week. Or when CMC went down, Mike Davis came in and balled out. Mike Davis rookie card still didn't go up, in that time period. Now, Mike Davis this year, though, in Atlanta has gone up in the last few weeks based on speculation, because the hobby loves to speculate. And once people are drafting, I'm the same way. I'm sitting there drafting my fantasy team. I'm looking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just got Gabriel Davis in the 10th round with Josh Allen, who's probably going to be unstoppable this year in Buffalo. I want to get some of his rookie cards. He's young, and you look at it, his values have gone up, and it's like, should I? But man, they could really, make the playoffs and this and that. But I've already doubled my money on the card. Go ahead. I would say go ahead and sell it. I'm already like ready to sell. Like the same thing with and we could get in this, maybe a different conversation, but the injury risk, and we've already seen a couple major injuries here this preseason, where I know guys are still holding those players' rookie cards because they were thinking that they're going to keep going up because they're poised for top 10, top 5 performance type seasons on really good teams. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You've got to factor all of that in, because, man, I know a lot of people that have been drafting J.K. Dobbins and just to have that happen. And I know a few of you listening have gotten Etienne as well. So you got to factor in injury risk as well. Those injury prices fluctuate in such a major way. And, Andy, I don't know what to really say about that. Obviously, there's a huge difference with a quarterback being injured versus a running back being injured. And I'm sure there's some people holding some Cam Akers and some J.K. Dobbins trying to figure out what they're going to do right now. What should they do? I mean, obviously the price point and all that comes into the equation, but what would be the best course of action when it comes to injuries?
Yeah, I think it depends on where you're holding it. So if you've got, for example, if you got cards of J.K. Dobbins on Star Stock when you heard the news, or if you're still holding it now, there may be still offers in the system because Star Stock doesn't have an expiration date on their offers. There still may be good offers in the system. You could just go in and click accept. Now, if you're holding the physical card, you may still want to take a 75 to 80% offer of what you were initially hoping to get at right now, because maybe that news hasn't hit everybody yet. There's still a lot of people that really haven't gone on YouTube and watched the doctor's medical review of his injury, and not the fact that it's just not an ACL, but it's also an LCL, and he could not be the same when he comes back. That's just a real possibility. And maybe you want to go ahead and take a 75 to 80% offer and cash out and just break even on the card, because if you hold it, you're rolling the dice of him potentially not being the same when he comes back, or just a downward trend altogether by that time. You never know.
Yeah, sell them now. Yeah, I'm just going to be honest, and I understand I've been major sell guy during this episode, and a lot of people are like, "Well, does this guy even own any cards? Does he even buy any cards? Is it no? Just sell them now. Just
Understand.
sell it. Just sell them now." And I'm going to give you someone else. Okay. Now, what's very fascinating was my phone just buzzed. We're going to talk about Mac Jones in just a second, but I just got a 99-cent bid on a Mac Jones lot of all the cards. See, Andy, we're rolling into cash, baby. We're already making people money. We're making ourselves money, baby. 99 cents. Let's go. They're not ready for me, baby. We'll talk about Mac Jones in a second. But what I'm about to do, Andy, is share an opinion that would be banished. All my LSU YouTube subscribers would banish me right now. But I think you should also sell some Joe Burrow right now. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I don't think Joe Burrow is going to be great. I think he is actually going to have a big bounce here. Once again, this is a hype cycle. And there are, as someone who looks at Joe Burrow cards every single day, there are a lot. I mean, a lot. And it's a little bit different than Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert actually has, to me, a better supporting cast than Joe Burrow right now, a better coach than Joe Burrow. I think Brandon Staley is going to be a big success there in Los Angeles, a better defense than Joe Burrow's defense. And Joe Burrow's in a division with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just think right now, Joe Burrow prices are obscene. You have to admit, Andy, dude, they're obscene for his Bengal uniform cards. So that would be something that I would look into, just seeing. I mean, are you blown away with? It's ridiculous how many Burrow Bengal cards and how many of those cards actually sell for well over a grand. And then, you have to factor in, if you're buying a Burrow for that much, how much higher can it actually go? And the answer to that it can be a little shaky. So I am on the sell Joe Burrow train, not because I don't think he's going to be great. I'm drafting him in a lot of my best ball super contests on Underdog, and I was able to stack him with Jamar and Tyler Boyd recently. I think we're going to see Joe Burrow have a big year. I just think sometimes the big year does not necessarily coincide with what you should actually do with the card now.
Yeah, very difficult division they're in. And even though he's a great player, it's just, man, it's going to be really tough for them to make a playoff run this year in that division. I mean, really tough, right? And so that's the same thing. I mean, kind of the same way I look at Justin Herbert, but I think that Joe Burrow is even more of a sell now for that reason, because Chargers are in a much better position with their offensive line, with their defense, with their coaching too. I mean, I think they're in a much better position overall in the NFL than Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. And so you could have a better. I think you have a better chance at the Chargers making the playoffs, and Justin Herbert's value maybe stay the same, maybe go up a little bit if he makes the playoffs. But you think of how high that is already. It's like, when a card is that high, how much more can you expect a base prism card to go up before people just say, that's it, I'm not touching it, And so,
yeah, man. And I feel dirty saying it. And look, I want to be clear. This is not a pump and dump thing for me. It's not, because, I'd be saying the opposite if that was the case. I don't own many high-end Joe Burrow cards. Actually, I don't really own any. I have a lot of his base rookie cards just raw because I collect them. But it's you got to factor all those different things in, especially when you factor in the grading processes and all of that. But I want to get into obviously the 5 rookie quarterbacks and the Mac Jones news.
Mm.
It's a little interesting because Mac did play for the highest profile college football program and he was very successful. But obviously, the New England Patriots jersey card is going to be the one that you'll want if you actually believe Mac Jones is going to be the next Tom Brady. So, it is very interesting. I know a lot of people are gung ho to get involved with these 5 rookie quarterbacks, but as far as Mac is concerned, Andy, it is fascinating because he was such a big star at the biggest stage you possibly could be a star.
It is fascinating because I was looking today and I was expecting his rookie card values right off the bat, the ones in his Alabama jerseys, to go up more than they have. But I look and I still see Justin Fields selling for more than him in comparable. I still see Trevor Lawrence selling for more than him in comparable. And I think it's just because Mac Jones, like Tom Brady, is not very athletic with his legs. He's not making plays with his legs. He's not making Patrick Mahomes style throws and jukes and moves like him or Lamar Jackson. And so he's just not as flashy, but his decision making is incredibly sharp. His ability to scan progression on the field and then make super accurate throws. I think he's going to do phenomenal at the NFL. I think he's looked great, but and the New England Patriots have an incredibly huge fan base. If you look at their social media following, them and the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like they've got the most followers in the entire NFL, right? Their fan bases are absolutely huge. So there's going to be a lot of demand, especially if he plays well. And I think if Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, that whole New England front office has shown a tremendous amount of confidence to the point where they released Cam Newton, who's looked pretty good himself this preseason. That as soon as those cards, like the mainstream retail cards, the Donruss specifically, comes out on September 8th in Mac Jones in that New England Patriots uniform, they are going to be so hot. They are going to be so expensive.
So once again, sell now. I understand that seems like an underlying thing, but this is a time, especially if this is your first year. Just I went through it last year, and I took far more bumps and bruises than I took W's. Now, I did have a few W's, and I was happy for it, but once again, I know it doesn't sound fun. We want this to be a fun and collecting hobby, and obviously collect what you want to collect. But, trust me, this is another thing. Retail boxes at the Walmarts and the Targets, if you're lucky to get them, those are going up. Those prices of cello packs are going to go up. The famous line on The Wire, the price of the brick is going up. You got to understand that. It's just how things are. The price of sealed wax is going up. So, understand that every time you sell a card, some of the money you could go towards another card, or you could save up and actually get a better graded version card or a numbered version of the card. But, once again, I'm still skeptical about Mac Jones. I still am. Obviously he's had a great preseason. He's dominated some of these scrimmage games. But we'll see. The one thing about Mac Jones that's very interesting, though, is the AFC East does have a lot of question marks. And here's another guy I'd be selling. I'd be selling Tua. I don't believe in him. I don't. He was my favorite quarterback ever coming out of high school. And when I was doing radio at the time, I said, this guy's going to win a national championship at Alabama easily. And he did his true freshman season. I just don't believe in it. I just don't. I just think he'll never be the athlete he was after the hip injury. So I would be selling my Tua right now. I really would. Andy, I don't believe in it. I don't.
Yeah, there's already rumors that Miami's the front runner for Deshaun Watson too. But it's not only that, we saw a very short leash on Tua last year. I know he didn't have a whole lot of time to learn the playbook, still recovering from the hip injury, but I mean, very short leash on him, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how much the Deshaun rumors are true. I don't believe Deshaun Watson has a chance of playing a down of football this year.
Right.
So keep that in mind if you are interested in making a move on Deshaun Watson. I'm not a believer in Tua for a lot of reasons. Number one, the hip injury is one thing. Number two, it just looked like he was physically overmatched last year. Now, if he returns back to sophomore season prime Tua, he is plenty of athletic, despite not having great height. But to me, he was never the athlete, let's say a Russell Wilson, a guy that is compared to a lot. He was never that athletic. So understand that after going through the injury, there's going to be a guy that's not going to have a whole lot of fancy rushing plays, like you were mentioning a minute ago. I would fade Tua right now. That's someone that I'm definitely not going to buy. Now, once again, could be wrong about that. All of us could be wrong on this. Is there anyone right now that you feel people are going after, Andy, that you're fading or you think people should sell right now?
Well, I think it's the obvious moves. Well, maybe not so obvious, but I guess it is kind of obvious. Like Jameis Winston is a guy that I would sell right now. Like if you have Jameis Winston cards, I would sell him right now. He's had another good preseason. He's been announced the starting QB in New Orleans over Taysom Hill. But we all know that Sean Payton's not going to sit there and let Jameis Winston throw 3 pick sixes in a game without putting Taysom Hill back in. So he's got a ton of hype. His rookie cards have gone up a ton in the last couple weeks, ever since that Monday night game with Marquez Callaway. And I would be selling both Jameis Winston and Marquez Callaway cards right now, compared to buying Jameis going into the season.
That's a good one right there. Before I get out of here, you have some upcoming videos, Andy, on grading. What should people be looking out for when they subscribe to the Fantasy Football Card Quest? What types of grading? Because obviously, you've done some things with PGX. There's all these 3-letter grading companies. There's TGD, CSG. Well, they've been around for a little bit, but FCS is another one that I've seen pop up in my Facebook feed a gazillion times over. Then, I'll get into my situation in just a second, but what do you have coming up as far as grading services are concerned?
Yeah, so I'm breaking down. I do a quick synopsis of how we got here from basically the start of 2020 till now with the major grading companies, because this year in 2021, we've seen so many new grading companies come into the space. And yeah, I am affiliated with Pure Graded X, and they have worked up a really nice deal with me to grade slab cards for $12 a card, which is really great. But there's been, some minor issues with that. They're a startup company, and there's the credibility's not there, and they've made a couple mistakes, but they fixed that. But still, it's all about what the buyer is going to demand if I'm submitting cards that I'm hoping to add value to for investment purposes. And the simple fact is that the majority of I would not even say collectors, but the majority of investors and flippers out there are not going to buy a card that's slabbed by a startup grading company. Even HGA, who's been around the longest now in 2021, I think they started in the end of 2020 as a startup grading company. Their cards still, their HGA 9.5s are still selling at a fraction of what the BGS 9.5s and the PSA 9s and 10s are at. So I would say SGC right now is your best bet, because you can submit to them for $30 a card. They're claiming 30-day turnaround. Now, I will tell you, it has gotten pushed back because they are really the best option right now. I submitted a nice little stack of cards to them a month ago, and they have not even said they received my order yet. The tracking from USPS says they did pick it up, but you can go on their website and track your order, and it hasn't shown that they've actually like logged it into their thing to where they're actually processing it. So they're getting backed up as well. But the simple fact is, I would hold your cards and sell them raw right now, or just wait, or submit them to SGC. But you don't want to pay $200-$300 per card to get it graded for with BGS or PSA, and the investment value is not going to be there with all these other startup companies. Now, if it's just a personal collection item and you want to throw it on your wall, like I've done with like my 2020 Prism Red Cracked Ice Tom Brady, or my Derek Brooks rookie card, because I'm a huge Tampa Bay fan, then yeah, I would use a company like Pure Graded X, because they have cool color match slabs. It's $12 per card, and even if it is what some people call a fancy card holder, it still protects my card, and it still has a
True.
nice aesthetic little label on it and stuff. So I think for $12, it's worth it.
So I want to show you this really quickly. Ignore. I was going to show it to you, but hey, texted me something pretty wild. However, I was going to show you this live on the phone. My Mac Jones lot has gone from 99 cents before this episode. Guess where it is right now? I promise you, this all happened during this recording. Just guess where it is.
I'm gonna guess it shot up to like 30 or 40 bucks already.
Well, it's at 15 right now.
15, but still went from 90, and this still has a set like 6.5 days left, right?
Yeah, we still got plenty of time, and it's going to end on a Sunday night. So, and once again, these are the Bama cards. Now, as far as your grading comment is concerned, full disclosure, I personally have never submitted a card to any of the grading services. Never. Not sure if I ever will, because of, the wait time, and, it goes all the way there. I will tell you this. I studied this play, and I made a play on a Kobe Bryant card. And I understand this is a basketball card, and it was a PSA 9, and I got it for $415. And the first day I got it, I dropped it, chipped the slab, and a re-slabbing process. I sent it back to PSA to get it graded. Well, I sent it to PSA, not to get it graded, but to get it re-slabbed. And this was last October, and the card is still there. It is still there. All I wanted it to do was get re-slabbed. It is still there. And my bar, there's like a little bar that you get with the PSA, I haven't even checked it. I've just kind of forgotten about it. Which leads me to 2 points really quickly. Number one, when you're holding your higher value stuff, be very careful. Okay. I'm the clumsiest person of all time. You do not want to see you did not want to see my girlfriend's reaction when I told her I dropped that card. But anyway, it goes to show you that you should be very careful when you hold cards, but also understand that things are going to be backed up. Those turnaround times are not going to be accurate. Trust me. My play on the Kobe card was right. I thought about just holding it forever because I was a Kobe guy, but I got it for $400, and I knew the prices were going to go up. Our buddy Brad Nolan, that's how I became friends with Brad Nolan, a fan of your channel. The prices went up. they touched $850, $900, $1,000 for a PSA 9 base 1996 Kobe rookie card. So understand that you should do that. And this was another instance of me being clumsy. I actually did the card score machine, which is a potential replacement to the grading services. And they're opening up at LCSs across the country. I was in one in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my hometown. And I did the card score thing where you put the card down and they scan it. And guess what? A bunch of people grade the card for you. They send you a one touch and a sticker. And obviously you could see it right here. I did not put the sticker on smoothly. I got to shout out Noah Card Score. He's sending me a replacement sticker. But Andy, this is pretty interesting that there are other people right now, Andy, trying to get into the grading space as far as wanting to potentially replace grading. This whole process, I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. I was in the card shop, uh, did the card scan, whatever. This whole thing was $16, where they send
Mm.
me the one touch. Now, once again, are people going to actually buy card score stuff? This is a PC card. I collect Tyrann Mathieu. I don't know if I'll ever sell a Tyrann Mathieu card, but it was very interesting to get that, in a one touch like that. So it is interesting that there's all these new different types of services that are out there. But uh, I really did enjoy this process. It took about, I think, 3 weeks for me to actually get this uh, delivered to me, but it was okay. It was fine. So there's other services out there for your PC if you wanted to get a grade or a slab or whatever.
Hmm.
Just understand that the values may not be what you expect it to be.
Yeah, the investment value is not going to be there until they build credibility. I think that it's possible that if content creators like us get those cards that are submitted to these other companies like CardScore or PGX, or another one that I've been using recently is fgscards.com. And that's literally a web app that you upload a picture, a raw picture without a card in a penny sleeve or a top loader into their system, and it'll scan it in a matter of 30 seconds or less and give you a grade on it. And so I've done that with all the raw cards I submitted to SGC to compare the results. And I think if content creators do that with like card score, then that's how they build credibility, make a YouTube video and actually show the before and after and the results. And if they're accurate, then all of a sudden they build a tremendous amount of credibility in the market. And you could see, um, you know, cards in one touches with the card score sticker on them, adding value, investment value to your raw card. It's pretty interesting. That's really cool.
And that's, where integrity steps in, right?
Hmm.
Because, I have another Tyrann Mathieu raw rookie right here. Okay. This was not the one I got card scored, but of course I could put this one in there and it not actually be the card that was graded on the card score. So, you know,
Mm,
you understand how that could work because they're
yeah, that's very
trusting
true.
you to do that. So obviously, you can avoid that with one major tip that you gave me a while back, Andy, and a lot of other people, Adam Palmer for Heroes for Sale, and a bunch of people have brought this out. There is extra value in numbered cards, right? Where, if let's just say for this, I would have to put the numbered card in there, the serial numbered card in there. So understand that as we move forward, there could be extra value, and obviously autos and patches, but just the numbered card, Andy, obviously does add some legitimacy to different cards that are out there.
Absolutely. Because the print run. You look at that card, there's only 99 out there. I'm like, boom. So this is a scarce card, And trying to pin down the print run these days of cards that aren't numbered is very difficult, man. Very difficult. I've tried to do it. I've gone deep down that rabbit hole and it's fun, but I mean, it's very difficult.
So obviously we focus mostly on modern. In our next episode, we'll touch on some vintage things that you need to know for those that are
Ooh.
interested in vintage cards. Andy, I know you mostly deal with modern as well. I've dabbled in vintage. I have a crazy Jerry Rice story I'll share in the next episode just to
Ooh.
cliffhang it. But we did it at the end of the last episode, Andy. We'll do it again now. Is there anybody out there that you feel is significantly undervalued right now in the hobby?
Ooh, man, that's a good question because we are seeing so much run up, man, that it's getting harder and harder to find guys that are significantly undervalued. But I'll go back to the Chicago Bears to a guy that I still don't think is at his peak this year, and that's Darnell Mooney.
Guy, you
Um,
took mine. You
I
took
took your
mine.
guy.
You took my guy.
Well, he's
But no,
still
go on
not.
ahead. Go on ahead.
He's still not at the value I think we will see him by the end of the season, just because he hasn't had a true breakout yet. And this is a guy that is an absolute incredible athlete, and he's just been missing a quarterback. So I think once we see Justin Fields take over in Chicago, you're going to see just incredible speculation, a hype build around Darnell Mooney. I also think that just with Andy Dalton performance alone, you could see a run up on his rookie cards because we've seen him juke out Jalen Ramsey. I mean, we've seen him juke out and burn the best defensive backs in the league and get wide. I mean, this guy can get target separation like very few other wide receivers in the league.
I'm going to give you a few. All right. So first, I like you're so good at finding these position player values. I like Darnell Mooney a lot. Chicago top market. I also don't think that Brad Nolan, of course, our Chicago buddy, will tell you this. Justin Fields is going to be such a big star in this league. You got to think the Bears have never really had that all-time legendary quarterback. Chicago's been dying for it. And Justin Fields is dual threat. He, once again, you got to factor this in as well. He is a very handsome guy. He's a very marketable guy, played at a major high school, has fans all over the country, and he has a little bit of an underdog mentality. There were a lot of teams that passed on him, so he's got a little bit of a narrative behind him. Understand that if Justin Fields turns out to be the guy that you expect him to be, Darnell Mooney is likely going to be his number 2 option. If not, you could see him potentially have some better games than Allen Robinson. So it is very interesting. I'm going to give you a few. I still am going to stand by this. The Lamar Jackson prices compared to Josh Allen prices are absolutely insane to me. That, you can get some good deals on Lamar. And once again, that's a little bit higher end. And now is not necessarily the time to buy. But Lamar has put up some legendary NFL seasons already. When you look at EPA per play and the MVP and all these advanced stats, and the next generation loves him some Lamar Jacksons. I mean, heck, I live nowhere close to Baltimore. I see Lamar Jackson jerseys on kids all the time. They just love him. They just freaking love this guy.
Yeah, he's super athletic too. 2019 MVP. Yeah.
He's got star power. He's got this affability to him that is just absolutely insane. So that's a little bit of a higher end thing, but I still do believe in Lamar Jackson in the long term. Someone else that I find to be very interesting. Now, once again, his prices aren't the absolute best, but I think Justin Jefferson cements himself as a top 5 wide receiver. Target share is going to be absolutely incredible this year. The other options in Minnesota, I think Thielen can fall off a cliff at any second. After that, Irv Smith is hurt. There's all different types of things falling out around the Minnesota Vikings. What if Dalvin Cook goes down? And even if Dalvin Cook is healthy, that's going to open up some opportunities for Justin Jefferson to still make plays. So I think Justin Jefferson becomes one of the, if not the best wide receivers. And he's a superstar. Fortnite video game. Dances. Kids love him. Walking to an LCS, kids want Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson. And those are LCSs that aren't just in Louisiana that I've been to. In Alabama, there was a kid that walked in and wanted Jefferson and Burrow cards. So I think Jefferson's still going to go up. And I would hold on to him. And I know there's a guy on Twitter that I follow, mbane831. He's like a Justin Jefferson refractor super collector. I believe in Justin Jefferson in the long term. I really, really do. I think he is beyond special based on what we saw in the rookie year. And he was beyond special in college. So I think that's someone that, is still, once again, his prices are a little spicy right now, but I still believe in him becoming a superstar and remaining a superstar in the National Tackle Football League. And I'm going to give you one more, Andy. I'm going to give you one more.
I got one more too for you after you go.
I think Zach Wilson's going to be a success. I also think, and you pointed him out in a video recently, Corey Davis will
Ooh.
be with him as well. Look, Corey Davis is going to get a lot of targets in that offense. Obviously, Jameson Crowder's a good option. Elijah Moore should be the next great thing. But Zach Wilson has targeted Corey Davis a lot. I understand he doesn't have a sexy name or sexy personality. You can get some of his autos right now for less than $20. Refractor autos, on-card autos. Those I like those rookie contender autos from around that era. I love the Alvin Kamara silver rookie autos right there. So, if Zach Wilson's good, the Jets, ironically don't have a whole lot of social media follows. That could just be because they've been so bad for so long. So if Zach Wilson turns out to be the guy, Corey Davis is likely to be his best receiver. I like Corey Davis as well.
And he does come with a lot of draft capital. I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but drafted number 5 overall in 2017. So,
all right, Andy, give me that
okay.
special name.
So I got a team. This is 2 quarterbacks. I think you should go out and buy both of them right now because they're still considerably undervalued. And that is the 2 quarterbacks on the Washington football team. All right. And I'm talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick and I'm talking about the backup, Tyler Heineke. And the reason why is because Washington football team has got one of the best ascending defenses. And we know that defenses win championships. And Ryan Fitzpatrick in the last 3 seasons has finished as a top 8 fantasy quarterback in over 50% of his games. And last year, the Dolphins had a very poor offensive line play. And this year he's in Washington and they've got some of the best wide receiver weapons in the league with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. They drafted De'Ami Brown. They've got Antonio Gibson in the backfield. And I just think that Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you go back to his draft year, which was 2005, the same draft year as Aaron Rodgers, and just compare the rookie card price of a Bowman Chrome or, just a Bowman Chrome, not even Bowman Chrome autograph because that's a pretty rare card, but a Bowman Chrome Aaron Rodgers compared to a Bowman Chrome Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's a huge difference. And I'm not saying Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Hall of Famer, like Aaron Rodgers is, but I think Ryan Fitzpatrick could be at least maybe a 10th of the value of an Aaron Rodgers rookie card. And right now he's probably like a 20th, I just think that based on the scarcity of his rookie cards from that year, which are pretty rare, there's very limited options. You can get one. I got a Bowman Chrome autograph card, for example, a couple months ago for $50. That card today, you can still get that card today for around $100, but the Aaron Rodgers comparable is selling for $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the condition of that card. So you got to think that card of Ryan Fitzpatrick could at least go to 200. You know what I'm saying? And then Tyler Heineke, you can get his 2015 Prism for $5, $10. And this is a guy that stepped in for Washington football in the playoffs against the Bucs last year, made some plays. He's very flashy, athletic with his legs. And the dude's rookie cards blew up overnight in that game. So if Ryan Fitzpatrick does happen to get hurt or they pull him out just because he starts throwing a lot of interceptions, you could see Heineke getting a ton of hype, a ton of buzz on that team. And you could easily double, triple your money on his 2015 Prism rookie card.
So this would be my bit of advice on that. If you want to buy some Tyler Heineke, his actual name is Taylor Heineke.
Oh.
First name Taylor Heineke. Let me see. I was looking it up. H-E. Such an investment and even names.
You're breaking up there, Carter.
It's Taylor. Taylor Heineke. It's Heinike. Taylor Heineke. I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Washington, big market. Well, that's a top 10, top 15 market. If that team starts winning again and that fan base, and if Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy with the beard, he's on the football podcast, Part I Take. He's very popular. The quarterback from Harvard. Man, you might be onto something there, Andy. I've actually been drafting some some Ryan Fitzpatrick and some best ball leagues. But anyway, Andy, this was another fun episode. Once again, make sure you check out his football card content on YouTube. Obviously, the video for this week is on grading. It's going to be very evergreen while at the same time very immediate for you to go check that out now.
Yes.
He's Andy. My name is Carter. It's been the QuestCast, baby. Football cards all day, every day. Let's go.
All football cards all day. See you guys next time.